the Iowa spirit on 8.
It's 12 o'clock, and now from TV-8, where news is #1, Molly Cooney, John McLaughlin, and Mary Brubaker. This is TV-8 News, live at noon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Those $10 fines for not using your seatbelt will continue here in Iowa. The state Supreme Court today ruled it's okay for Iowa to require seatbelt use and to punish those who don't buckle up. A Council Bluffs man had challenged the 2-year-old seatbelt law after he received 2 tickets for failing to use his seatbelt. But Iowa Supreme Court justices unanimously rejected his argument that the seatbelt law is an invasion of privacy. They say it's proven to save lives, and requiring seatbelt use is well within the authority of the state.
Another Supreme Court action today. The court ruled that failure to enroll a child in school could lead to termination of parental rights, but the court stopped short of granting broad leeway. Judges said that each case will be decided on individual circumstances. The case involves an 11-year-old Tama County boy whose mother is a certified teacher and attempted to teach him at home. But the boy was absent for 129 school days, allegedly because of health reasons. And state officials wanted the boy removed from the home after they agreed he wasn't progressing at home. Iowa's first petition drive to put riverboat gambling on the ballot gets underway today. Officials with Dubuque Greyhound Park say they're starting the petition drive with Mayor James Brady and other local and county officials signing a giant petition. State law requires that local voters approve the riverboat gambling issue in referendum before the boats can dock there. The riverboat gambling law takes effect July 1st. Officials say the Dubuque County election likely will be held August 15th.
Voters in Ankeny narrowly defeated a $5.9 million school bond issue yesterday. That money was to be used to expand classrooms at the elementary and high school facilities. The unofficial results indicated a little more than 55% of the voters supported the measure, while almost 45% opposed it. Still, the bond issue needed 60% approval to pass. Now it's up to the school board to decide whether to hold another election in 6 months. A Kansas City attorney says truck driver Sam Lacey had complaints about Wilson Certified Express of Des Moines before the shooting rampage at that office last May. The 49-year-old Blue Springs, Missouri man is on trial at the Polk County Courthouse, charged with 2 counts of attempted murder. He's accused of shooting 2 of his supervisors. In testimony this morning, defense witness John McFadden says Lacey complained of racial discrimination when trying to pick up loads in California. McFadden says Lacey also was frustrated that Wilson Certified was withholding large amounts of money from his paychecks for fines or damaged freight. McFadden says he contacted company officials about Lacey's complaints.
He was becoming more and more frustrated when I talked to him because these matters continued to happen. It was the frequency which frustration, I guess, is the best thing I can say. It was he was damned if he did and damned if he didn't. He was working a lot of hours. Sam always drove a lot of hours, and but these problems, and they seem like little problems, but a number of them affect you financially very rapidly in that particular profession.
Lacey is expected to testify in his own defense this afternoon.
A Des Moines boy died yesterday of massive internal injuries several hours after a freak accident involving his mother's car. 4-year-old Stephen Carter and 2 other young children were left alone in the car, while Stephen's mother, Deborah Carter, of 1203 Forest, went grocery shopping. Authorities say the boy apparently crawled out of an open window and went behind the car. The other children played with a gear shift, and the car rolled backwards, pitting the boy between the car and the curb. About a dozen people rushed to free the boy, but he died later at a hospital. The accident happened near 6th and College.
The biggest protest in Communist China's 40-year history is underway today. More than 1 million people are in the streets of Beijing demanding democracy. Some say they feel the government will cave into their demands within a few days. But as John Shahan reports right now, the government isn't even acknowledging the crowd.
The working people of Beijing declared a holiday and took to the streets in support of the pro-democracy movement and the students who started it. Of the 3,000 hunger strikers at Tiananmen Square, about 1,000 have collapsed and been rushed to hospitals. Others have taken their places. The capital of China is in a state of spontaneous uprising against the country's communist rulers. When an empty truck appears, protesters simply take it over and make it part of the protest. The few police in evidence are helpless. The students have galvanized the public in a way the Communist Party hasn't been able to do in 20 years. And the authority of the government has disappeared from a now expanding area here in the heart of the city.
No one can defeat the people. No one can defeat the people. At last, the people will win.
The unrest is spreading to other cities, including China's most populous city, Shanghai. The demonstrators say they are supporting the students in Beijing. But at Tiananmen Square, the students are outnumbered by workers, party members, big organizations such as CITIC, the Chinese government's most prestigious international corporation.
If I were in the government, perhaps I would be very, very worried.
On the sidelines, Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev goes on with the first Sino-Soviet summit in 30 years, with both sides trying to pretend publicly that the popular revolt isn't happening, even though one event after another is canceled because the government is losing control of the streets.
Demonstrations are brewing in Shanghai, too, which is the next stop on Gorbachev's trip to China.
A West German court has sentenced Muhammad Ali Hamadi to life in prison after convicting him of murder and air piracy. Hamadi was tried in connection with the 1985 hijacking of TWA Flight 847. He admitted taking part in the hijacking, but denied killing U.S. Navy diver Robert Steedham. Life in prison is the maximum sentence under West German law. A general strike is underway today in Panama. Rush hour traffic was down, but many businesses remained open as usual. Opposition leaders who claim they won this month's election called the one-day protest against Manuel Noriega's regime. The government says the strike is illegal, but now it hasn't indicated how it will respond.
Well, meanwhile, Americans living in Panama are getting out. Some 200 civilians and military personnel arrived back in the U.S. overnight, and another plane load is expected later today. Some of the Americans who left Panama say they feel safer now because they don't know what's going on in Panama. The United States is ready to take a tough stand when the Organization of American States meets today in Washington, D.C. The U.S. wants a resolution demanding the resignation of Noriega, but the two countries thought to be most sympathetic to the U.S. view, Venezuela and Peru, are proposing resolutions that fall short of what the U.S. wants.
Oh, well, the TV-8 News Live at Noon continues. We'll go on the road again today.
And we'll catch up with Alison Gilman in Webster City.
The man who commanded the space shuttle Atlantis on its 4-day flight earlier this month has some explaining to do, and not about the shuttle. The Federal Aviation Administration says David Walker flew a NASA training jet within 500 feet of a Pan Am airliner on Monday. Officials say the incident happened near Washington's Dulles International Airport. Walker was flying into Washington for a White House ceremony honoring the Atlantis crew.
Deaf residents in north central Iowa community of Webster City are a little bit safer today, all thanks to the efforts of some school children there. Alison Gilman is on the road in Webster City to tell us all about it. Allison?
Hi, Molly. Hi, John. I'm back out on the road today at Main Street USA. That's the slogan they use here in Webster City, a progressive good news town of about 9,500 people. Now, I've never had the pleasure of visiting Webster City before, and I'm really having a good time today. While I'm here telling you about all the good things going on in Webster City, the Webster City High School Jazz Band is providing some tunes behind me. So far today, I've taken a tour of the town. I stopped in to visit the Hamilton County Board of Supervisors to find out some of the latest area developments, and I also stopped in at one of the radio stations here in Webster City. But probably the highlight of my morning was a stop to Lawn Hills Elementary School for a very special presentation. About 360 first through third graders in town have spent the past month collecting empty cans and bottles to purchase a machine that will allow the deaf to communicate with Webster City Emergency Services, the police department. The children learned the deaf had trouble getting police help when they needed it because of a communications barrier. And these children wanted to do something to remedy the situation. They've raised about $150 so far for a TDD machine. That stands for a telecommunications device for the deaf. There are about 20 deaf people in Hamilton County who will use this device, and they told us today this will be a real lifesaver.
I had a problem with a friend of mine who's full deaf, called the police station, but they don't understand. She comes over to my place, and I take her to the police station, and then I interpret her for the police officer.
We don't have the enhanced 911 system in Webster City yet, and we don't know what their problem would be if they didn't have this device. So this is going to fill that void and that gap and be able to them to type in the problem that they have, and we can respond immediately.
That TDD machine went into went online today at the Webster City Police Department, where it will be used almost immediately. And joining me now to tell me about an upcoming event in Webster City this weekend is Tim Brazil. He's with the Chamber of Commerce here in town. And Tim, help me out with the name. It's the Boone Bash River Dash.
Very good. You've learned real well. It's the Boone Bash River Dash, the third annual. That's right.
Now you've got a lot of new and exciting things going on this year. What's up?
Well, that's right. In addition to the canoe race, we've got a street dance that's new this year and a 5K run that's competitive. And those will be on Friday night. And, of course, the canoe race on Saturday and the seed feed, which we added this year. That'll be a feed put on by the pork producers and some other local groups with some cloggers and some strutters going on Saturday. And on Sunday, we've got the 35K bike ride and the Isaac Walton League fishing contest.
Very quickly, anyone who wants to get involved, Tim, how best could they do that?
They could show up the day of any of the events that they're interested in and register right there at that time, or they can give us a call at the Chamber of Commerce office in Webster City.
Okay, Tim, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Back to you, John. Molly?
All right, thanks a lot, Allison. Turning now to weather, we're talking rain.
We're talking rain.
Still?
It's not here yet. It's going to get here, I think. And when it does, it's moving so slow that we'll probably get some generous amounts around the state. We'll tell you just what we're expecting right after this.
For the latest official forecast, 24 hours a day, call TV-8 Weather, 262-7173.
Well, clouds are over the capital city. The wind is blowing, but we're still waiting for the rain. It should be here a little later on this afternoon. We're hoping anyway. It's another live shot up in Webster City. 78 degrees currently in Des Moines. We have a south wind, as you can see, 23 miles an hour, and that will continue to gust throughout the day. 36% relative humidity, yet too low for precipitation, and the barometer slowly falling. We need that to get on down there, too. 29.99 currently. Around the state, temperatures are in the 70s, mid-70s for the most part. Looking at 76 in Fort Dodge, 78 in the Mason City area, and out towards Lamoni, cloudy, 72 degrees. Ottumwa, 76. We should see the warmest area of the state right in there today. Low temperatures this morning, 61 in Des Moines, 58 in Ames, and 60 in the Fort Dodge region. Satellite picture shows what's going on as far as the rain. Most of it is being trapped off to our south with heavy rains throughout Texas and Oklahoma down into Arkansas. Several reports of severe weather in that area. Also rain to our north up around Fargo, North Dakota right now. This should slowly be working its way towards the northeast. Still expecting it to move in here a little bit later on tonight. And as you can see, we are getting some thickening clouds now across southwest Iowa. So perhaps by later tonight, central Iowa will have some of that rainfall activity moving in there. And with the slowness of the system moving across, we could see perhaps 1-inch amounts of rain across the entire state by the time this all ends Friday into Saturday. Look at temperatures across the nation right now, very mild across much of the eastern half of the nation. Behind that system in the clouds, it is cooler with mainly 60, 78 right now in International Falls, Minnesota, 68 in Kansas City, and Denver really warm. Denver, that's Miami down there, 91 degrees currently. Thinking Denver on a different story, I guess. Today, look for temperatures right around the 83-degree mark up in the northeast and the southwest, a little cooler with some clouds in the north. 30% chance of rain across western Iowa later this afternoon with 10 to 25-mile-an-hour winds out of the southeast. Okay, later tonight, 80% chance of rain in the west, 70% in central Iowa, and then 50% after midnight across the east. Could see some thunderstorms mixed in with that. And then tomorrow, look at this, chance of rain pretty good across the entire state. We're looking at 60 to 70%. So keep your fingers crossed and your rain gauges open. Now the forecast for Des Moines and central Iowa. Partly sunny and breezy today. High temperature 80 to 85 degrees with southeast wind 15 to 25. Tonight, showers and thunderstorms are likely. Low temperature around 60 with a southeast wind. Then tomorrow, cloudy, showers and thunderstorms likely again, high 70 to 73 degrees. And the extended forecast for Friday and Saturday, temperatures mainly in the 80s with a chance of rain Friday and Saturday. Should be ending then and cooling off a little bit for Sunday. Right now, cloudy and 78 degrees.
Looking good.
I hope so.
Okay, John. Taking a look at stocks now, the market is higher in heavy trading today. Volume the first 2.5 hours, 89 million shares. The Dow average is up 9 points today at 24.62. The average share of common stock at noon is up a nickel. Midwest cattle prices this noon weak to 50 lower. Figures are not available today on the interior Iowa hog market. In Chicago today, May corn is lower at $2.77, May beans lower at $7.28. May wheat is higher today at $4.10.
Denver's getting a new airport, that's why I said that. But anyway, you're talking about cemeteries today?
Yes. Have you ever stopped to wander through an old country cemetery?
Yeah.
It's a fascinating thing to do. Cemeteries are one of our most important sources of historical information. With that in mind, and because we're celebrating National Preservation Week, the State Historical Society is sponsoring a cemetery conference. It takes place in Newton, Iowa, Friday, May 19th and Saturday, May 20th. Topics covered will include folklore, history, ecology, genealogy, archaeology, historic preservation, lost burials, grave witching, stone carving, stone rubbing, and how to use information from cemeteries. What will they think of next? For more information, call Jim Jacobson at 281-4358. And then, if you want to include in your weekend the theater, the Drama Workshop is presenting the critically acclaimed Herb Gardner bittersweet comedy, I'm Not Rappaport, starring Burt Routman and Al Downey as feisty old couple, kind of an odd couple, struggling with the problems of old age. Performances are Thursday through Sunday afternoon at the Studio Theater in the Civic Center. We'll be right back to visit with missionary Peter Hammond of the Frontline Fellowship right after this. Peter Hammond is with us. He's a long way from home in southern Africa. He is the director of Frontline Fellowship, evangelizing in the war zones of Africa. He publishes various newsletters that I've been reading, and it sounds to me like there is a constant Holocaust going on in southern Africa. How many wars are going on, Peter?
There are 40 wars going on in the continent of Africa at the moment.
Now, are these civil wars?
In many cases, in all of the cases actually, they're civil wars. Sometimes it is religious. The Muslim Arab North and the Sudan are fighting the Christian Black South for 20 years. 1 million people have died. There've been the Muslims and the Christians fighting in Nigeria and other places. But most of the time it's ideological, like between scientific socialism, Marxism, and free enterprise.
So it gets very complicated because it's political, it's religious,
right.
It's civil, it's all kinds of things that are hard to understand.
Oh, yes.
Why do you want to put yourself into a dangerous situation as a missionary?
Well, of course, the church cannot only serve God in a place where it's comfortable, easy, and safe. We must be involved everywhere, and it is a tragedy that these areas are neglected. When the wars start, when missionaries get restricted, when laws come in that prohibit or restrict Christian work or proselytizing or people being able to change their religion from, say, Islam to Christianity, then the missionaries tend to be pulled out by the missions boards and what have you. And these people are neglected. So I'm working there because the people are so grateful. We find that we have 13-hour church services sometimes. 4, 5, 6 hours is normal. People walk 30 kilometers to come to church service, 50 kilometers. I remember one old man who walked 150 kilometers barefoot in war zone to come to plead for Bible. He said, there's no Bible in the whole district. Do you have a Bible for me?
A Bible?
Yeah, just a Bible. And when I gave him 3 in his language that he was able to go back to his village with, he just leapt for joy, literally. I've seen people crying to receive a Bible. It's people who said, we haven't had a visitor for 5 years, or 8 years even, and you're the first missionary to visit us. So that's why we're working there.
One reason you're here and giving talks and speaking to people is because you feel that there's a great deal of abuse of our foreign aid.
Yes, that is true. We, of course, as a mission, do not want to get involved in the political situations, but we are concerned for the human rights abuses in Africa, and particularly the abuse of foreign aid, development aid, relief aid, and charity. Africa is the main recipient of foreign aid from Western nations, and most of it's being abused. Unfortunately, there have been horrific examples, for example, in Ethiopia, where they charged 100% import tax for the free relief food being brought into the country to get hard currency. They charged docking fees, harbor fees, transport fees. They charged 100% import tax on the trucks that were to deliver the food, and within 2 years the trucks became the property of the Ethiopian communist government, and the people were starving. They even export food from Mozambique to the Soviet bloc in exchange for weapons while the people starve.
Are we too naive in this country? Do we need to be more sophisticated about our government, what our government
I would
is doing
say
in
so.
Africa?
For example, the United States of America gave over $400 million over the last 8 years to the communist government of Mozambique, where over 4,700 churches have been destroyed, where the leadership have been involved in the ritual eating of human flesh, cannibalism. They've been involved in the worst human rights abuses. I saw the film The Killing Fields. I've seen worse things in real life in Mozambique, and yet American people out of good intentions are giving money because of a lack of information.
Peter will be speaking tonight at 7 p.m. at the Christian Union on East Euclid in Indianola. And if you want more information on his fellowship, this is the address, Post Office Box 74, Newlands. Thank you very much, Peter, for being with us today on the Noon News. And we'll be right back with more news right after this.
Scientists, farmers, and the farm chemical industry have differing opinions about the farm of the future and what role chemical fertilizers will play. TV-8's Chris Lidstad concludes his series of reports, Field of the Future, looking at that question.
Boone farmer Dick Thompson allows weeds to grow in his cornfield each year. He says minimal weed growth between corn rows actually helps him farm. What's more, Thompson seeds grasses that look very much like weeds onto his fields after the growing season. Small wonder other farmers aren't always receptive to Thompson's farming methods.
That field over there that's got stalks on top, well, 20 years ago, that'd be a disgrace. You were a poor farmer. Well, it's taken 20 years so that we can leave some trash on top. It may take another 20 years that we can have something green on top. But that green there means green in the pocketbook.
Dick Thompson's farm is virtually chemical-free, thanks to his unusual planting and cultivating strategy. But farmers aren't the only ones resistant to his practices. The chemical industry defies the notion that pesticides and herbicides can be eliminated, and suggests even to try it would be disastrous.
All we have to do then is decide which half of the people are we going to let starve to death. It just isn't possible.
But experts in environmental farming disagree. They say we've taken chemical farming too far, and now must backtrack before it's too late.
We tend always to forget our mistakes and keep making them over and over again. But we're also looking way forward. And Dick Thompson, I think, is on the cutting edge of the change in the way things are going to happen in agriculture.
Any change is likely to be slow as farmers try to protect their reliable practices and in so doing protect their income. But let consumers speak. Given a choice, would they select a product that's been treated with chemicals or one that is chemical-free?
Probably I would choose the grain grown without chemicals. I think the pesticide and herbicide situation in this country has gotten way out of control.
The younger generation, maybe not us, but the younger generation coming up, look what they're going to have to go through with. And it may cause harm as far as health is concerned to them. So it is kind of scary in a way.
Experts say there's a growing market for chemical-free products overseas, too. Producers there have ruined land in attempts to compete with U.S. farm production. Now they're turning to us for the grains they once grew themselves. Chris Lidstad, TV-8 News.
Mary, a little preview of tomorrow for us?
Tomorrow we're going to preview a production of a play called The Meeting, and this was an imaginary meeting between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and it should be quite dramatic. There's some Des Moines connections here, and it's all a fundraiser for a new theater for children.
Interesting concept.
Very good. We'll preview the forecast now for you. Looking for a chance of rain coming in later today, but right now partly sunny and breezy, high 80 to 85. There it is tonight. 70% chance of showers and thunderstorms, low around 60. The shower chance continues into tomorrow. Showers and thunderstorms likely again.
And tonight at 6, Sam Lacey is expected to take the stand in his own defense. We'll have more details on that. And we continue our On the Road series today live in Webster City. Thanks for joining us today at noon.
We'll see you again Thursday.